you got vinyl PPF, and now color PPF. And the choices are endless. I mean, endless, and I mean it. So, jokes aside, let's talk about the 3 most popular film options that you have for vehicle wrapping. So you got vinyl, and vinyl is actually polyvinyl chloride, PVC, and it was designed to change, I guess, the vehicle color, and that was pretty much it. It's very easy to work with. It is usually, we like using Avery Dennison film, and it's a double cast. It conforms really well, and it's been the most, I think, popular and go-to for changing the color of your vehicle. So this has been around for a long time, and the technology has gotten so much better. Like the Avery SW900, so easy, it moves, it slides. Like looking back at when we first started to now, man, you guys are lucky if you're starting in 2026. So you got paint protection film, right, or PPF, and that's what most people call it. It is not PVC, it is actually polyurethane. It's TPU, and it has usually gloss and matte, or what we call stealth as well. And it is about 8 mil thick, 7.5 to 8 mil thick is probably the average. And it was designed mainly for protection purposes, right? It has self-healing abilities. It was designed to protect, actually it was very popular in NASCAR, to protect the cars from all the branding and all that. And then now it's in our Teslas and other, exotic vehicles. So that has been around for a while. And this too has gotten so much better. Like I can't tell you when I first started and got certified in PPF, I wanted to quit many, many times. And now that I look at the new products that are out, it is so much easier. It's easier to work with, and it's just fantastic. Here's a new thing. It's not really that new. It's been around for a while, but it really started taking off, I think, more in the 2025, maybe 24. We went to SEMA. I mean, there were hundreds of colored PPF companies in China, in Korea, India, I mean, like all over Asia, Taiwan. And what this is basically color-infused paint protection film. What's really interesting about it, though, is not only can you protect your car, now you can basically change the color and get protection. Historically, you had to vinyl wrap and then paint protection film, which can be, if you do both of that, I mean, it can be close to 10 grand or close to that to do all that. Now you could save a lot more money. Installers can just do one. There's a couple cons to it, which we're going to get to. But you can see this is a beautiful, it's like a forest green. One of the best things about color PPF and PPF in general is very, very little orange peel. I mean, this looks like paint, literally, right? You can see that this vinyl is just the way that it's done. And if you look, it's actually the backing paper that causes some orange peel in some gloss vinyl, right? Satin and matte really don't have that. But gloss, you'll see a little bit more orange peel on the vinyl compared to color PPF. So with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about, how it's actually installed, right? So vinyl conforms really well. Look at this. It's really thin. You can kind of see it's very airy, right? It has that backing paper. And typically, we typically do something called a 4-corner stretch. So we pull this corner, and this is so hard to do like small ones. Why is this so hard? You pull this corner, and then you can see you use a squeegee like this. This is a felt squeegee. There's a microfiber squeegee, and then basically the motion looks something like this. And you can see kind of go in. There's a recess right here. Oh yeah, look at that. What's really cool about vinyl and all of these films is that they are memory based. And then you want to use heat for all of them, actually. But it is, I would say, easier than a paint protection film. Just my personal opinion. You can see this, it has this air release technology. Look, I messed up right here, kind of on purpose. You can literally do this. And then heat it up. And it's gone. You let it sit just a little bit, and then now you could go back at it. And you can see all that wrinkle is completely gone. So I like vinyl because I do think it is really, really easy to learn. It still does its job. And if you're really looking for, just changing the color, this is a very good product to actually use, right? So it's still very much industry standard. I think color PPF is definitely taking off. A lot of people are getting into it. But vinyl is still king when it gets to the budget stuff, right? So you can see it's pretty easy to get all this bubbles out, and this is basically how you wrap it, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this out. Don't have to be perfect or anything. Wow, look at that recess right here. Okay, so that's basically it for vinyl. Now for PPF, this is also, by the way, for vinyl, most of the time it is dry install. Back in the day, there was a few that was wet install, but I think for most modern vinyl film like 3M, Avery Denizen, KPMF, you know, Hexus, they're mostly gonna be dry install, okay? And most of them are cast. So for PPF, it is a wet install, right? And both colored. And we're gonna get into the color PPF, but basically you use a soapy solution like this, and then you basically peel back, and then just put it on like so. Spray the top layer. So you get a squeegee, and you just do this. It's really satisfying. I think the difference though in PPF and vinyl is when I do vinyl, I'm much more smoother with my strokes. So I'm more, I guess like, it's more like this, and then you always do that 50% overlap. It's very therapeutic, and when you look at it on Instagram, it looks really good. When you do PPF, it's more like stabbing motions, right? And you do that because you want to carry the water and then hydrate different parts and so on. But you can see you want to go into the valley and not bridge anything. And then from here on out, you can kind of get the rest of it. But you see that this is a matte film. And look at that. It changed the whole color of this sheen from gloss now to what we call stealth, or some people call it sand, matte. I don't know, it's kind of a industry contradiction. Like, is this matte, is it sand, is it stealth? They just need to make up their mind. But this is Avery Denizen matte PPF. That's what they call it. Or again, you could call it stealth. So you can see this is the process. The only other part that I didn't show you is typically when you're wrapping around edges, you do use what we call tack solution, which is typically water or water and alcohol mix with 70% alcohol. And then you basically spray like the edges like this, and then you basically go over it, and that kind of solidifies those edges, and so it doesn't come back up later down the line. So that is a very, very important step, but that's how you install paint protection film. Now we're into the last one, which is colored PPF, and this is almost exactly the same. So here's the thing though, in color PPF, there's two different types of color PPF. There's actually going to be dry install and wet install. There's been a few more dry install that came out. You know, they do have, like Avery Denizen just announced theirs, right? It's called Prism. 3M has their PWF. That is a dry install as well. And then I think like this one is our brand, and then there's a few others. I think the majority of them is going to be wet install, though. I'm going to be honest with you. So for this one, I have a wet install. So you're going to do the same thing that you did on this one, the PPF. Spray a good amount of it. This is kind of a big piece. And you can see the liner right here, right? Spray the top layer, and then you can see, look at that, beautiful color. I forget what the color name is, but it is so pretty. Nice green. So kind of what I mentioned, like PPF is a little bit more like stabby motion, whereas this one's a little bit smoother, but it's a little bit more aggressive. And I think you need way more force. Part of it is it's just a thicker film, right? So I can actually do a really quick intro too. Where's my meter? I'm gonna go get the meter real quick while I finish this up. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna do something called a coating thickness gauge, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and get this right here. And this is a coating tester, right here. I got my metal, aluminum right here, and it is showing 0. There's nothing on it. And then I could basically grab this piece right here, put it on, and you're gonna have 189, okay? So roughly about 200, okay? And then I get a piece of the PPF as well, the matte PPF. This is gonna be roughly the same. 194, yeah, like a little bit thicker, but I mean, very, very similar. I mean, you're talking micron levels, right? And then of course you got your vinyl, and you're gonna see a big difference here. And this is where I think the information does matter a little bit. 109. So it's about double. Sometimes it can be thicker. Yeah, so I mean, that's really what you're dealing with, and this is what the differences are between the three. So let's talk about something that I think a lot of people don't want to know about, right? Cost. Vinyl, I would say, is always going to be cheaper. Part of it is, I'm going to give you a ballpark, right? This is going to be like $700 to $900 in vinyl costs, material costs. PPF is typically around $1,200 to $1,400. This can be between $1,300 to $2,000. So you're kind of looking at the price difference. And the reason why this is a little bit more expensive usually is because of the fact that, you know, if you were to do these two, I mean, this is going to be way more expensive. You kind of save the cost there, and also it costs a little bit more to do that. So I think on average, vinyl wraps are going to be between like $3,500 all the way to, you know, $5,200, roughly around that. And that always varies by regions. Certain areas have a higher overhead, so they have to charge more. So just keep that in mind. PPF is going to be $5,000 to $6,500 roughly. It can be a little bit more again. And I think this one is going to be like $5,500 all the way to like $8,000. I would even say it's more like $6,000 actually, $6,500 maybe. It's a lot more work in some ways. It's less work than if you did both of these together, but it's a lot more work than if you were to do just paint protection film, because a lot of times in paint protection film, gloss and matte, shops will definitely use like templates or hybrid templates, whereas this one, they do still use somewhat of a template, but it's just way more work because you need to have way more coverage. If you were to go from red to green, you better cover every single square inch of that. So it does require a little bit more, sometimes more removals, so that's why this costs a little bit more. This is definitely quicker turnaround. I would say a week. This is a little less, like it's probably like 3 to 4 days, honestly, if they're like a very experienced shop. This is probably more like a week, and then this is probably more like a week to 10 days, right? 7 to 10 days. Let's talk about some of the durability aspects of it. So these two are polyurethane, right? TPU. This is polyvinyl chloride. So the first test is like if I had a metal brush, right? And this is a white one, so it's kind of hard to see. But you can see that I scratched it, and there's a line right here. I'm going to scratch this one as well, and there's lines now. And I'm going to scratch this one. And I went pretty aggressively, and you can see all of them in the light. So then when you look at this one first, I could actually... I'm just heating it up. And heat does help. So when I look at this, whoa, it's hot. There's still streaks. It did get rid of some, but not all. This one right here, it basically got rid of all of those lines that I had right here. So what it does is, I can't really explain to you in a chemical way of what's happening, but basically heat will make it kind of heal itself. And there is a limit to that. Like this is not going to be forever. Depending on how you maintain your car, this feature might kind of dissipate over time. So I want to be honest about that too. You got right here as well, you got some of those lines, spray some of that. And same thing with this healed up even faster, and this is the true benefit of paint protection film, color paint protection film, is the ability to protect itself. So what does that matter? I know no one's gonna go over and brush their vehicle or anything like that, but why that matters is, let's say you had a paint transfer, small little contact, this would protect your paint from going to a body shop. Rock chips and stuff like that. A rock chip on this, it really won't protect it, and that wasn't what it was designed for. These two are going to be your best bet on that. So the other thing is, these are not ceramic coated in any way or anything like that. You can put like a Sharpie, and then I know I haven't let it sit, but I'm going to try to clean it up. You can see right here, immediately it doesn't really come off. You can also see the scratches that I made with a brush. But the good news is this is not on the vehicle, this is on the vinyl. So you could rip it off as well and do that. And then you got this one, and look at that. So here's the thing, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. There's a slight shadow. It still exists, a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. But you can see I was able to get it off. Same thing for this one. You're able to get it off. And this one is actually pretty much gone. So I mean, this is like the biggest thing. You can still ceramic coat this, right? And when you ceramic coat it, that will help with some of that. I like doing the Sharpie because this is it's a permanent marker, but it's a liquid. And when it pushes that, it's a very strong pigment. It tends to like etch into it. You can see it etched just a little bit. Didn't etch here. It is a darker color, and it definitely etched into that. So that is one of the things that you want to keep in mind. I think the last thing is like people do this is screwdriver test, right? If I go, I'm gonna try to be as consistent as possible, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here's the thing about this test. It gives, so it actually helps in terms of dampen it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push it down, right? And then I'm just gonna push it all the way in. Awesome. So then when you look at this, you can see a little bit of a dent where like there was that massive one, and this is where the dent was. It's definitely lighter on this one than it is over here. I mean, like I showed you, this is 100 microns, this is almost 200, this is almost 200. And then same thing over here, I had a big one, and there is not a whole lot of damage. You can see that it went through, it didn't go through, but there's an indent right there. But it still took some of that force from the screwdriver. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a better idea on what each of these films were designed to do. This was really designed for customization and color change. This was designed for protection, and this, if these two had a baby, this is what this is basically. So what is actually right for you? So before I get into telling you what you want, I want to be completely honest with you. Here's the cons about paint protection film, color paint protection film that I think a lot of people aren't talking about. Paint protection film, there's a lot of colors out there, and that's amazing. But one of the things that we learned the hard way is that it is hard to replicate the color. So when you have PVC, color protection on this by Avery Denizen, 3M, and the bigger brands, it's phenomenal. They're able to replicate the same pigment every time very consistently. So I've had cars, like I've done a lot of like Avery Denizen or 3M where like they came back after they had a small accident or something like that. I wrapped it like a year and a half or 2 years later, I can get that same color and it matches, right? On the other hand, color PPF, it's just the way they do the production. They're not able to replicate like an exact match in the colors. And they have so many, and I think it's because they're sharing the lines in terms of the colors. Like for like black, like gloss black, matte black, sand black, all of these, like those are replicatable. But what I've seen is colors like this is gonna be a difficult time. So if you're a shop, I'm sure a lot of the shops do this, they'll typically order like 2 rolls, like if they're doing a really big job, and then just keep it for a little bit, right? And then they buy from the same batch number. So we know that because it comes from a really big drum and then they cut it into 16 yards or whatever that is, they buy like 2 rolls. What we try to do is we always keep track of batch numbers. So when we talk to our manufacturer now, we can make sure we get it as close as possible. But unfortunately, it's like kind of a little bit out of our hands. Like we can't necessarily guarantee that color match. But we're trying to do a little bit better about educating people about that, right? So that's the biggest con, I think, in terms of the color PPF line. The other thing is, you are definitely going to save a lot of money on this. So if you're only strictly thinking about just color change, save some money, and you like changing colors pretty often, go with the vinyl route. There's plenty of colors, hundreds of colors, beautiful in every type of sheen available, and go with the vinyl. If you're really just looking for protection, you love the color of your car already, then go with paint protection film, gloss, or matte, and you'll be perfectly happy. You want both. You don't like the color of your car, and you want protection, then this is what you're going to go with. Just make sure that you are aware of some of the risk that this entails. But these are very exciting times. I think this technology that has advanced in the past few years is phenomenal, and these are going to be an option when you customize or protect your car. So I hope this helped you in kind of educating yourself in the 3 types of film that is commonly out there in the market. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. And if you're looking for DIY protection or DIY customization kits, that's what we do at DIY Wrap Club. So you can check us out on our website at DIYWrapClub.com. We'll see you later. Subscribe.